as families stroll through the park, stopping off to take pictures in front of the blooming magnolia. It's hard to believe their country is in the throes of war. But just 25 miles away from this tranquil park in central Kyiv, the horrific reality is laid bare, as a devastated woman stumbles through the ruins of her family home. Neighbors are coming to terms with the death and destruction left behind by the invading forces after their retreat earlier this month, and Dina must try to rebuild her life from her sister's house in the village where she is now staying. But back in Kyiv, residents appeared to be sheltered from the terrors of the war as they enjoyed a beautiful spring day at the Invading Botanical Garden on Monday. Couples strolled hand in hand along its winding pathways as children played under the white blossom. Just 6 weeks ago, Kyiv was under a strict overnight curfew and its subway stations served as emergency shelters for some 15,000 residents as Moscow's troops focused on taking the capital. Many fled the city in the early days of the war, packing onto trains heading west, fearful they would never return. For weeks, Kremlin forces inched towards the capital from the north but were unable to break through Ukrainian lines or overcome the logistics issues that came with a hastily ordered invasion. But as Russia's focus has shifted towards eastern Ukraine after the failed attempt to take Kyiv, the city has gradually returned to something that resembles normality. Cafes, theaters and cinemas have reopened and tens of thousands of residents have returned. But the devastation of the conflict is never far away. The burned-out buildings and rubble in the village of Azera are a common sight in the satellite towns around Kyiv. Russian troops began withdrawing from the region at the beginning of April, and the bodies of hundreds of civilians have been found since. In Bucha, about 18 miles northwest of Kyiv, hundreds of civilians were killed by Russian forces and buried in mass graves. Some of the dead were found with their hands tied behind their backs. The town was the scene of some of the worst atrocities of the war so far and has since been visited by prosecutors from the International Criminal Court, which is investigating possible war crimes. Kyiv also came under heavy bombardment from airstrikes before the withdrawal, with missiles striking residential areas.